Morning, guys. We are going to review angle relationships today. We watched a video over this yesterday, so we're going to just kind of do a quick review. There is a sheet that you can create for notes if you would like to do so. I will not be collecting it, so it's up to you, but it can be quite helpful to help you remember, and I'll walk you through exactly how to do that as we're working. So if you would like to take the notes, take a piece of paper. This can be lined or it can be plain white paper, and fold it like you see right here. Right here. Okay. Oops. Sorry, friends. Where these dotted lines are, that's where you're going to want to cut. So if you're choosing to do the paper, cut it right on those lines so you'll have 4 flaps that are going to open. On the outside of those 4 flaps, you can pause the video real quick and write supplementary right here. I'm just going to write enough to help you remember, and then you can fill it out as we go. So you can write supplementary angles here, complementary here, I would suggest you write out the whole word. I'm sorry, I just do not have space to do so. Adjacent angles. And finally, maybe my finger will work better. It's a little better, not much though, huh? And then finally, vertical here. Sorry about that. So then you'll have those 4 spots that we'll be able to put information. So take a minute, pause, write those on the paper. If you don't have a scissors to be able to cut the paper, you can still do this without having the 4 flaps. You'll just have 2, and you'll have supplementary on top and adjacent on bottom, complementary on top, vertical on bottom. Not a big deal. Okay. On the inside, when you first open the complementary, you can put the definition. Complementary are 2 angles that add up to 90 degrees or a right angle. I always remember this because I remember the C makes a corner, complementary corner. That helps me keep them straight. Okay, here, if you would like to put your example, this would be an example that I would put on the other side of the flap. So on one side of the flap, you can put your definition. If you would like, you can put your way to remember. And then the other side of the flap, you can put the example. Okay, just to help you remember what a complementary angle is. We're going to do an activity that involves using complementary, adjacent, vertical, and supplementary angles. So having these notes in front of you can be very helpful. Okay, so if you need to pause to finish creating this part of your notes, and then go ahead and hit play when you're ready. This, you don't necessarily have to work this out, but I'm going to give you a second, pause the video, and tell me how you would solve this problem. Okay, now that you've had a chance to pause it, hopefully what you thought to do was 90 minus 38 equals 62. Whoopsie. Sorry, guys. Having troubles with my math today. 52. Okay, so x equals 52. Okay. supplementary angles. Supplementary angles add up to 180 degrees, or what we call a straight angle. Sorry guys, it's really hard to write using my mouse or my finger. One way to remember this is the S in supplementary stands for straight line or straight angle. So again, if you need to pause it, these two will go on one side and your example can go on the other. Pause if you need a minute to write these down inside your note. All right, excellent job, guys. Let's move on to some examples. All right, so what is the value of the missing angle? Take a moment, pause, and solve for y. Okay, friends, hopefully while you were paused, you took 180. Got my son's pen, seems to help quite a bit better. Minus 105, and hopefully you got 75, and we understand that y equals 75 because this whole thing equals 180. Very good. Okay, vertical angles, find that flap. Vertical angles are angles across from each other. Across from each other. Their angle measures are the same. Or another way to think of that word is the mathematical term that we will use is congruent. Congruent simply means that they are the same. Okay, they are across from each other. Across. So these are vertical angles. And then these are vertical angles. So in this picture, we have two pairs of vertical angles. Again, pause the video if you would like a moment to put this into the notes if you feel that you need those notes to help you with the activity coming up. Okay, some vertical angles practice. Pause for a moment and find the missing values. If you think about it, if you use everything we've learned, you should be able to find the missing values for all of these angles. Take a moment and do so. Okay, using what we know about vertical angles, we would know that C is vertical, so it's also going to equal 35. Then, if we think about what we know about supplementary or straight angles, we would know that these two angles are going to equal 180. So 180 minus 35 is, of course, going to give us 145. So then we could learn that A is 145. Now, again, using what we know about vertical angles, we would then know if A is 145, then B must be 145. Hopefully you got those three angles correct. If not, take a minute, figure out what you did wrong, and make your corrections in your notes. Finally, adjacent angles. Adjacent angles are two angles that share a side and a point of adjacents. A way to remember is to think about adjacent angles as being next door neighbors. They share a side. They're next door neighbors. Okay, so in this case, notice here, they share this endpoint and they share this ray. That makes M and N adjacent. Adjacent. Okay, they share an endpoint and they share a ray. Therefore, they are adjacent angles. Take a moment, pause the video, put this in your notes if you feel the need to. Excellent. Okay, finally, if you would like to pause the video for a moment and practice using everything we've just talked about to see how many of these angles you can solve for. Pause and get that taken care of, and then I'll show you the answers so you can check your work. Okay, let's see. When I look at U, I notice that the 3 of these angles create a straight or a supplementary angle. So I know all 3 of them equal 180. So I'm going to take 180 and I'm going to subtract 42. And then I am going to subtract 29 from that answer. And then I know that U equals 109. Okay, so U is 109. Now to solve for S, I can think about this angle, which is also a supplementary or a straight angle, and I can think about 180 minus 29, and S is then going to equal 151. Finally, if you look at these 2 angles, I know that S and T equal a supplementary or straight angle. So I can take 180 and I can subtract 151 and I will get T, which is 29 degrees. Excellent job, guys. This is just the answer key to what we'd already put down. So hopefully you've got all of those down and correct. Awesome job, friends.